Welcome to MSP Voice, the weekly show for MSPs by MSPs. Brought to you by MSP 360, the #1 cross-platform cloud backup. Learn more at msp360.com. This is MSP Voice. Hello and welcome to MSP Voice. This is episode number 68. Today, I am pleased to be joined by Thomas O'Brien with IDEOLITY out of the Kansas City area. Great interview. He's been in the business for over 30 years. A lot of great input that he has for all of you out there, so definitely take a listen to that. Housekeeping, mspvoice.com is your source for all things MSP Voice. We've got webinars scheduled. I've got one on Wednesday, December 4th with Smith.ai that's coming up, as well as others in the new year, so definitely keep an eye out there to hear some great vendors who have a lot of great things to offer the MSP community. Short news this week, thanks to the Thanksgiving holiday, but just a couple of things I wanted to let you know about. One from our sponsor, MSP 360. They actually have MSP marketing templates for selling backup. So these are assets that you can download. They're white label, so you can put your logo and information on them and take them out and give them to your customers to help you sell backup services. So there's a number of different things. There's a leaflet, as well as a customer presentation. We've got an email promo as well. So 3 different things that you can take, customize, make them your own to help you sell additional services around backup. A couple of things from Reddit this week. This was actually over a week old, but it kind of struck me because I've heard a lot of similar types of stories like this. And it starts off, the title is "I am the MSP that you hate, but it wasn't my fault." And it was cross-posted, so part of it was removed, but he did go through and a couple of comments down, post the original story and information. Essentially, he's went to this customer didn't want to pay for anything. They didn't have the budget to do anything. So he used duct tape and baling wire to use a reference there to string a bunch of stuff together. And of course, everything went wrong. Another MSP has to come in behind him. And I'm sure if you've ever done this before at a customer because they just didn't have the budget and they wouldn't do what you said, and you went ahead and did it for them anyway, you probably feel really guilty for that. And I think that's the purpose of him posting this, is that he felt kind of guilty for having done things in this particular way, but there was no other way in order to do it. So some of the comments are useful on this original post, and of course some aren't. Some saying he's not really an MSP, he was actually doing break fix. Others are saying, hey, if the customer doesn't have the budget and not willing to do it, then move on. Don't try to jerry rig stuff together just to get it to work to make them happy, when in the end it's actually wrong. So it's kind of a philosophical thing, but I'm sure you've all been there and done some things you regret and felt bad for the MSP for someone else that had to come back in after you fired the client or they fired you or whatever, and had to fix this mess and probably cussed you out. So interesting story there. And then next up is, these pop up all the time on Reddit, but I don't know, this one caught my eye. It was very recent. So it's a new MSP, slowly getting my framework ready to launch, my own MSP in the area. So it has almost no technical support in a 20-mile radius. What to look out for, what should I plan for? If you're listening, definitely go to the show notes, click this link, offer some advice and support, some help for someone who's just getting started out. I did post in the comments about this podcast, to take a listen. Hopefully others have found it useful as well, especially if you're new or just getting started. With that, I will now turn it over to our interview with Thomas. Good interview, lots of great information. Be sure to stick around and take a listen, and I'll be back next week. Thank you. Hello and welcome to MSP Voice. Today I am pleased to be joined by Thomas O'Brien with IDEOLITY out of the Kansas City area. Thomas, introduce yourself. Let us know how you are.
Hi, I'm doing great. I guess I'm going to jump right into it.
Sure.
Kansas City, right in the middle of the country. Some people call us flyover country, but it's a really cool place. So if anybody that is watching wants to swing by KC, they should contact us, and they'll have a great time. It's a good city.
Yeah, I've been there for a few times on business trips, so it's a very nice area.
Yep.
And I'm from the Midwest myself anyway too. So from middle of Illinois, so familiar
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the area, those types of areas pretty much. But Kansas City is a great city. It's much larger than where I came from. So I understand Ideality didn't start off with that name, but you've been in business since 1988. That's like 31 years by my calculations.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty amazing. So actually, the first 3 years or so were us doing all sorts of. I had three partners,
Hmm.
and we were doing a number of different things. Of course, technology back then was completely different.
Yeah.
We solidified into IT, or what we now call IT, in about 1991.
Okay.
So it's about 3 years to find our feet, and kind of figure out what we were doing.
Hmm.
Um, and so by 91, we were firmly going in the direction of serving clients for their IT needs, mainly
Okay.
business clients.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I changed the name of the company back in 2008.
Okay.
And because our former name was like this incredibly long string of characters that take you 3 minutes to pronounce, and ideality seemed a little bit simpler than that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's definitely choosing a name is very difficult, as my sponsor MSP 360 will tell you,
Oh,
because
that's
just
right.
change the name, but
Yeah.
it's not an easy process. So before you started, did you have a career in IT first, or was this just something you just jumped into?
No, this is career 4 or 5
Okay.
or so. I was very entrepreneurial,
Hmm.
and but I had a background, a few years in management, managing people, kind of more of a junior management role
Okay.
in a non-technical field,
Mm.
and then I was an association executive for about 2 years. Hated that, but so I did a whole bunch of different things,
Okay.
and then um, when the microcomputer started to really get traction,
Hmm.
I realized that there was a big opportunity. And so I started by learning it myself and then training. I got involved in computer training.
Okay.
And so I worked for some of the bigger companies that had national footprints
Hmm.
doing group training, as all of America's corporations, were buying PCs hand over fist,
Yeah.
and they were really moving to the micro as opposed to the old model.
Hmm.
And so all these people didn't know how to use their computers. So I did that for about 2 or 3 years, and it was an excellent way to get into the business, because I saw sort of from the inside out the issues that people were having, and the challenges of deploying hundreds and thousands of smart workstations, or
Yeah.
whatever you might want to call it. And so it was right after that we decided to go ahead and form a company to exploit that opportunity.
Okay.
So that's kind of the backstory. But
Got it.
yeah, I had quite a number of careers, or jobs or things that I did before I got into IT. And actually, my um, background is in psychology and government. Those are my
Okay.
college degrees. And I went back to graduate school right after, about 2 or 3 years after I started Ideality, and got a degree in computer and information management.
Cool.
So, and that was really a great idea, because it gave me a good feel for how what the big picture of information technology was like at the time.
Hmm.
And I was able to sort of help place what I did within the larger context.
Cool.
And I think that was, pretty important for, um, giving us a direction in the early days.
Gotcha. And excuse me, just as you mentioned, you started off, kind of one area. I'm sure you've gone through several business model changes over the years. in terms of what ideology and how you charge your customers and those types of things?
Not really.
No.
So no, not exactly. I was thinking about this the other day.
Mm-hmm.
We've always had what I would think is the managed services approach.
Okay.
So we've always worked with small to medium business,
Mm-hmm.
anywhere from 5 to 200 desktops.
Okay.
And so we've stayed in that zone our entire time. And we've always been the IT resource for our clients. So we've had that approach from the very beginning.
Okay.
And what's changed is how we've charged for our services.
Gotcha.
So I think there's always stuff that you could make more money with. I guess maybe it's the other way around. It's like, as you bring on employees and you bring on resources that increase your costs,
Mm-hmm.
you have to figure out how to pass those along to your clients so that you're making money and they're being served well.
Yeah.
And so that's what's changed over time. It really hasn't been the business model.
Okay, so as you've grown, have you added more services and more types of things that you offer to your customers?
Well, yes, only because there's more stuff that they want.
Yeah.
I can take you back in time, and if you go back to around 2000, internet access was awful. It was
I know.
really hit and miss. And Windows 95 and all of the desktop stuff was full of holes.
Yeah.
And so we were doing break and fix because everything always broke. You had to fix it because it was just the way things were. And then, so you fast forward to now, and now nothing really breaks. Seriously, I mean, computers are way more reliable, servers are way more reliable, operating systems way more reliable, internet way more reliable.
Yeah.
And so now it's more, it's kind of transitioned more into management by exception, and making sure that you're not leaving any holes that are potential exploits.
Okay. What about, in terms of your client base, over the years, have you focused on any particular verticals? Do you have customers you've had with you for, 25, 30 years?
Yeah, I know. It's pretty amazing. We have probably a core group of clients that have been with us since the 90s.
Okay.
And I think our average client age right now is probably 10 years. So we don't have a lot of churn. We really try to focus on just being that IT department for our clients and making sure that they have absolutely everything that they need and that things work, and that if something breaks, it's in the middle of the night and we've fixed it before they get up the next day. I don't think I answered your question, though. I forgot what it was. Uh-oh, I've lost your.
Nope. Sorry. It was, I'd asked about verticals as well. So I asked about verticals and long-term customers. So it was a two-part question.
That's important, because very quickly we decided to work with knowledge businesses, and so, or knowledge organizations. So we work primarily with nonprofits and with organizations that, I call it managing knowledge, but they're more administrative. So we don't do retail, we don't do point of sale, we don't do industrial. There's a whole list of that we don't do.
Okay.
We probably have a minor, we do healthcare to a degree because we have nonprofits that are healthcare. So that's probably a second area that we specialize in. And healthcare, of course, is its own animal. You have to really ramp up to be able to handle the healthcare IT environment. So actually, that's been great because it's helped us improve our game, and we can take what we know and how we operate with healthcare clients and apply it to almost everybody.
Okay.
So in terms of security and privacy and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So nonprofits are in essence our vertical.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. So what about when it comes to, the software that you use to run your business and manage your clients? You've seen all the changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, what is that? How does that look? How often have you reevaluated tools, throughout history, and kind of, I guess, morphed your stack, or modified your stack to meet the needs of what your clients are asking for?
So in the beginning, there were no tools.
Yep.
There was no stack. um, I did. I'll tell you what. I did have a. I bought into a RMM
Mhm.
right around 2001,
Oh, okay.
and
Very early.
it was way too early. Um, so it failed. We could
Okay.
not deploy it
Yeah.
in our organization to our clients.
Mhm.
And so then there was a number of years where we just sort of patched together our own stuff. And then in maybe 5 or 6 years ago, we started looking really deeply at what it would take to effectively manage the IT environments for multiple clients.
Mhm.
And that's when we built our own
Okay.
um, kind of CRM timekeeping invoicing system.
Mhm.
And then we used that along with an RMM. And that really was a great jump for us.
Okay.
And now we've transitioned into more of a CRM and ticketing system.
Okay.
So I think we have pretty much a stack like most other IT MSPs do at this point.
Yeah.
We don't use our own stuff anymore.
Well, but looking at your history, you, like you said, you've been in business for a while, and the tools just didn't exist, so you had to create your own.
Yeah,
And I think, and if you look at the history of some of the tools that exist out there, it's because people like you, saw a need, they built their own tools, and they said, hey, we could sell this.
well, yeah. This is kind of funny, but I had a software company also,
Oh, okay.
and so we built web-based software for clients, bespoke software.
Hmm.
You would think that we would have built stuff for us and kind of gone down that channel, but we never did. And the last thing we built was that timekeeping system that we've just recently abandoned.
Oh, okay.
So, but the thing is, I think what's important though is there's never been a time that we haven't been looking for tools that can help us do a better job more effectively and
Hmm.
efficiently. And at this point, the tools are really the equivalent of two full-time employees.
Okay.
If we didn't have those, we would have to have two people doing stuff, that do those jobs,
Yeah.
or maybe more. And so, somebody be spending, waking up really early in the morning, looking at every single client to see if anything happened overnight.
Yeah.
So now,
Okay.
that's automated.
Yep.
So I think what's really helped us over the years is having the attitude of nothing is sacred. We have to adopt what the newest and best technology available is. And, sometimes it costs you more money than it pays back.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a mistake and you try to learn real quick and go on to the next one.
Yeah, it does, in IT in general, the only constant is change. So
Well, it's kind of funny. It's the saying, things change, but things stay the same.
yeah.
So, yeah, within that context, you're right. Things do change. The technology slowly changes. I don't think it's a fast change, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, but it's really it's all been good. That's the
Hmm.
good part.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
are the ones that don't change.
And I've seen, I've been around for a few years, so I've seen the changes, from desktop to then internet, and then, client server and virtualization, and now cloud. So, it's just a lot of different, stops along the way, or just, it's kind of continuous as things transition over. And then,
Right.
who knows what the next thing's going to be, but I'm sure we'll find out soon.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. We were talking yesterday that the cost of cloud storage for backup and stuff has gone way down.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, well, in a few years it'll probably be free. Then I don't know what you're going to do at that point.
There'll be a way to charge some other way, I'm sure. So,
Yeah,
the,
advertising.
yeah, you got to get the money in there somewhere.
That's right.
Um, so another interesting thing, and we talked a little bit before we started, is this really is, and I've noticed this with other MSPs, is that it really is a family business. So you said your son is involved in the business as well.
Yeah, well, he was involved since he was like 12, and then went away for a number of years, did his own thing.
Hmm.
And then at one point, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, we kind of had a family meeting, and he decided that he wanted to go all in on the business.
Okay.
And I was happy about that, but I was perfectly willing to go on without having it be a family business.
Okay.
So we try to really downplay that. I don't think that uh, that I think it's important that everybody succeeds or on their own merits,
Yeah.
and that the rest of our employees have to acknowledge and willingly accept the leadership.
Hmm.
And if the leadership is not good, then you're in trouble as a business.
Okay.
And so I just think that, I felt like I had to prove myself as a leader over the early part of our company's years.
Hmm.
And my son has had to do the same thing. He's done a great job. And so it was, it worked out well for us
Yeah.
in our case.
Okay.
But it wasn't one of those, third, 5 generations, some person on the wall in an oil painting with pipe sticking out of their mouth saying that's our founder. Nothing like that.
Okay. Well, I just, because like a lot of times when I'm at different conferences and shows, you'll see, families, because it's either like husband and wife teams,
Yeah.
or father son teams, and those types of things. So, in this industry lends itself very much to a family type business. So I think it's great if you can involve the
Yeah.
family. If they want to be involved, then great. If not, like you said, let them go do their own thing.
Well, I think small business in America, no matter what it is
Yeah.
often family businesses. It makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
And it's one of the strengths of our country, I think.
Yep.
That we have small businesses that are, run by families that can have that long horizon. So with less interruption from, transitions that may not work, or
Yeah.
that, that change the character of the company or whatever that might be.
Yep.
Yep.
Definitely. So thinking about someone out there who's listening, who might be thinking about getting started in this industry, what kind of advice do you have for them?
Well, I was one of those people way back when.
Hmm.
And I think that there's probably 2 important things in my mind. One is just do it. If you've got something that seems to be pulling you toward it, go for it. And then the second thing is own it. Own what you do.
Okay.
Be responsible, and learn to critically evaluate how you do things so that you can open the door to learning and improvement. You do see situations where people are not really willing to change, and so business goes right past them.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to sort of have that mindset where you're really open, you own what you're doing, you're responsible, and you're willing to just go in and go all in on it.
Okay.
So that's what I would say. But then also, there's another thing. I've been involved in the entrepreneurial community here in the Kansas City area, and the resources for people beginning in business these days are tremendous.
Okay.
There are incubators, there are entrepreneurial, programs at colleges and junior colleges. There are peer groups. There are all sorts of opportunities
Mm-hmm.
to get help and also learn and to get support because it can be a pretty lonely thing when you're starting your own business and you're out there in the wilderness trying to figure out how to do this.
Yeah.
So there are also lots of my other advice would be to take advantage of all those things.
Yeah, especially if you're coming at it from from a technical side, because the tech, if you don't know the business side, taking advantage of those resources can be extremely helpful.
Yeah, what I did, there was a fast track program for entrepreneurs that was a intensive business plan building
Okay.
program.
Mm-hmm.
And it was run by a large nonprofit that's based here in the Kansas City area, the Kauffman Foundation. And they're still very much an organization that supports entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And that was extremely helpful because it really, it helped you tie the technical, which is where you kind of want to live,
Yeah.
to the business, which is maybe where you don't want to live.
Yeah.
And so, that was great for me, and I think it would be something other people should probably look at too, if they don't have that business background or any education in that area.
Okay, great. So I know we've talked a little bit about how technology and things have changed over the years. When you think about technology that's new or on the horizon, what technologies are you most excited about right now?
Wow, yeah. So there's a long list. So what I found is that sometimes things that I'm interested in have nothing to do with the business.
That's not a
And
problem.
sometimes they don't have anything to do with the business right away,
Mm-hmm.
and then later they do.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm really interested in cryptocurrencies, blockchain, Bitcoin, that whole um, area of tech
Mm-hmm.
that just exploded in the last few years.
Yeah.
Also, I was talking about the Internet of Things a long time ago. And I look at the network as like a canvas that an artist looks at, and they have a blank canvas and they want to paint
Mm-hmm.
on it. I look at the network like that.
Okay.
And so it's there for you to create something, to create value for the users and to create, something that accomplishes something in the world. And so the Internet of Things, all of these things and how to manage those, they can do tremendous things for people. I think a
Yeah.
lot of people are kind of scared of it. From a tech point of view, it can be a real headache.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited about the more things that we integrate onto the network.
Okay.
In addition to the cryptocurrencies and stuff like that.
Cool.
Trying to think if there's anything else. Those are kind of the two main new things that I'm really interested in.
What about technologies that have you worried?
I think a lot of people would say artificial intelligence. I've kind of kept up with, in a very general sense, machine learning and artificial intelligence. I'm not too worried about those two disciplines at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they have potential advantages as we go down the world. I think a lot of times people say AI and they really mean ML. Machines are really good at finding patterns and helping us, manage large amounts of data.
Mm-hmm.
And, I kind of think that's the near term. AI is probably a little bit further out. But in terms of what really bothers me or worries me is probably not uncommon in our business, and that's malware, ransomware, the bad actors.
Yep.
And we all know that hardware and software can be exploited. It's been a fact ever since the beginning, and so you just have to be just very, very diligent about making sure that your security is ahead of the insecurity.
Yes. And that, make sure your canvas is secure, right? From that network perspective, and I know that's when a lot of people think of IoT, all they think about are these different entry points into the network, everything that needs to be monitored, patched, plugged, and who knows, might have something in the BIOS that came from the manufacturer you don't know about. And,
Right.
I think that's what has a lot of people freaked out.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is, uh, I guess I look at it this way: is that there are a dedicated group of people who are trying to break these things and
Hmm.
break into them, but there's also a much bigger group of people who are trying to make them work for day-to-day operations.
Yeah.
So, it's a push-pull.
Yeah.
But if there's anything that keeps me up, it's that, because we all know that the weakest link in any network is the human behind the computer.
Yes.
And we all know that phishing is something that has been very successful as a way to exploit or to get into networks.
Hmm.
And, from what I can tell, people come into the workforce, work in the workforce, and then leave it. So there's always people coming in, and there's always people needing that maybe don't have the experience or the awareness. And so we
Yeah,
really have to help educate users so that they don't fall victim to some of these things.
definitely. All right, so it is now time for our rapid fire round.
Uh-oh, okay.
This is easy. It's
Sure.
just a few questions. First thing that comes to your mind. There's, again, no right or wrong answer. Um, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right.
Shoot.
First
Fire.
up,
Rapidly fire.
Apple or Android?
Both.
Okay.
Sorry about that. But I was actually an early adopter for both.
Okay. Well, basically from a phone perspective, right? iOS or Android.
Yeah, so I carry an Android phone, but I use a Mac laptop.
Okay. So my next question is Mac, Linux, or Windows on the PC side?
Yeah, I really like Linux.
Okay.
But of course, our business is built on Windows.
Yeah.
And so I use a Mac.
You like Linux, business built on Windows, so you use a Mac. Got
Yep,
it.
there you go.
Cloud services, Amazon, Azure, Google, something else?
Um, yeah, we look at all of the above, but probably Amazon is our current.
Okay. So backups, local, cloud, or both?
Yeah, both.
Okay.
Both. Yeah, the good thing is cloud's gotten um, to be within the realm for everybody.
Yeah.
And so we're bringing on cloud in a big way, but we also want to make sure that we have plenty of local.
Yep.
So, lots of fault tolerance, redundance, everything we can do to keep that data secure.
Definitely. Virtualization. Should you always virtualize?
Yeah, I think in general, yes.
Okay.
There might be an argument. There are probably some use cases for not virtualizing,
Yeah.
but we go that direction. We like to virtualize.
Okay. And the final question, which is worse, printer support or vendor cold calls?
Uh, Actually, I don't know. They're both about the same. They're both about the same.
Yeah, they're about 50-50 in terms of guests, in terms of what they loathe more.
I'll go with the printer support.
Okay.
I'll go that way.
It might be, yeah, that may be winning a little bit because everybody's like, hey, I can just hang up on vendors, but printer, I got to fix it. So
Yeah. Or not answer, that's always a good one too.
yeah, that's true. If you're not in my contacts, I'm probably not going to answer the phone. So
Right.
Thomas, it's been great. Any, before we leave, any final thoughts here?
Yeah, I have one final thought, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
There are two terms that I think people use sort of interchangeably: client and customer. And our business, we have clients. And it's kind of my feeling that a customer is somebody you sell something to.
Okay.
A client is somebody that you partner with and you work with as more as peers. And so my kind of final parting thing is that we like to look at the companies that we work with as clients and as a partnership, and that's worked out really well for IDEOLITY over the years.
Great. That's great advice. From customer to client, client's much better terminology.
That's what we think.
Yep. Great. Well, Thomas, it's been great. And thanks for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. It's been fun.
All right. Hopefully we'll see you around maybe Florida sometime.
Yeah. Maybe next week.
Okay. Have a good one.
Okay. Thanks.